RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this program is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. As always, I am Zach, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News for Saturday Night Livestream. I want to welcome everybody to the show. We've got a very special guest tonight. My friend Brett McAuliffe, a former Australian public servant and a whistleblower of sorts. We're going to hear about his connection through his former employer to a lot of this Spygate stuff that's been happening for the last couple of years. Want to give a special shout out to Real Red Pill Girlfriend. Honey, I love you. Thank you to all of the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Thanks to everybody who's been here waiting. Do me a favor, guys. Please consider liking and sharing this broadcast. I really need the help. I could not survive if it was not for you guys helping get the word out. We are going to be talking to Brett for a full 2 hours tonight, and of course, as always, your questions are going to be in the second hour. So please, everyone, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Turmeric has a long list of health benefits, and consuming it is as essential as it gets to revitalizing how you look and feel. However, turmeric on its own just isn't enough. That's why Ageless Body was created. Ageless Body provides premier support for healthy aging, cellular energy, younger looking skin, a bright brain, and so much more. With this product, you'll receive very powerful support for younger looking skin, peak energy levels, mental focus, healthy eyes, and more. Get your own bottle of this amazing product for 51% off plus free shipping when you go to agewithredpill.com or by clicking the link in the description or pinned comment below. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please join me in welcoming our guest for this evening, Mr. Brett McAuliffe. Brett, how are you tonight, buddy?
G'day, Zach. Good to meet you again.
Yeah, pleasure to have you here. You know, what's funny, as soon as I published the show, there was already like 4 Australian patriots in there waiting. And I don't know if it's because they just got the notification and it was early morning, or if they knew that you were going to be on and so they tuned in specifically for it. But once again, thank you for being here. And also, let's I want people to get an idea of who you are. I mean, we got in contact with each other because you reached out to me through Twitter, letting me know that you had some bombshell information. But before we get into that information, I want the audience to have a sense of who Brett McAuliffe is.
Okay, so I was working in the Australian Taxation Office from 2003 until 2015. And when in the last year, in particular of my time there, I saw some things that seemed to be directly connected. Well, I wouldn't say seemed, they were directly connected to the things that Bill Barr and John Durham's looking at. And in fact, now it turns out the DNI is looking at it. Even Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's curious about potential interference with US elections. So what I'm going to talk about is, obviously I won't mention any specific names of the people I saw, but in terms of background, I'm an IT guy. I started out in pre-sales and like a systems engineer, and worked for a couple of American companies in the early 2000s, and really enjoyed it. Really quite found the American spirit very uncynical. I found as I'm we watch some of the things that are going on these days. I think people have become quite cynical, and but I really enjoyed working in the States. And but then the Nasdaq crashed, and I was out. I'm like, well, what do I do? And it was hard to get work in back in IT. So I put in an application for a government job and ended up getting the job. But they initially retained me to help them. They were getting pushed around in the big end of town with I guess, blue chip companies, and in the sense that when the government was auditing blue chip companies, they were getting the runaround from time to time from IT professionals that were part of helping get some data so that the tax office could do a good review of the accuracy of the financial information that's being used to calculate the taxation.
So
whether it's GST.
But financial review on individuals or on corporations?
No, just corporations.
Okay.
So the tax office is broken into roughly 16 business lines, and there might be one specifically might look at private groups and high wealth individuals. Then another area might look at just blue chip companies with turnover over 100 million. Then there would be, say, small to medium enterprise, which was that area that I talked about, which might be, say, 10 to 100 million and things like that. So I worked in the area that dealt with the what we call our sales tax, which is a GST. And so I helped them develop that capability. And then later on, I crossed swords with a few senior characters. I didn't like the decisions they were making. So I think I sort of got on the radar a bit. But anyway, then what happened is I got moved into an intelligence role. And then after that, I got moved into the role that is where I saw all of the things that I'm going to be talking about today. And that role there, I started in, let's say, November 2013 through my last day was the 17th of June 2015.
Interesting.
And I went on sick leave from stress. Yeah.
Now, what was your role as far as you said this intelligence role that you took? What can you talk about?
So the intelligence role I was, yeah, sure. It's it's all open source. What I'll say today, or in the public domain. So the government likes to spy on people, and it was never my intention to end up in those sort of roles. But look, most of the agencies that, certainly the tax office has an intelligence capability, and they simply will look at taxpayer information and see if there's any patterns of potential abuse or let's say tax fraud. And typically, this is in the open domain, but when the government thinks that there may be tax fraud or money laundering and things like this, what they typically do is look for what is your declared income, what is your declared sales, and that's called legitimate because it's on the books. They know about it. You said, look, this is what I've earned. So if there's sums of money or large sums of money found that is unexplained in that it wasn't reported, then they call that unexplained wealth. And then they might look at that. So in the intelligence role, people that are connected to suspected criminal behaviour, money laundering, suspected terrorism, that was the team or one of the teams that that I was leading for a while. Okay.
All right. Now, so are they already looking at people based upon prior knowledge, or are they constantly combing through all citizens' tax data to look for big bumps in revenue or unexplained sources of revenue, as you say?
In the intelligence capability, it tended to be more profiling in nature.
Okay.
So it would be looking through lots of data. And look, there would have to be, I imagine, some lead, some trigger, for that. But the way I remember it was mostly, here's the software, we're making the connections between entities, assets, persons, organizations, and a theme or a map can be developed about the situation. So that's...
Would the software make initial connections for you and, say, spit out a candidate and say, this is somebody we think you should look at more in depth? No?
No, you've got to do that.
Okay.
That's where the intelligence... well, I was going to make a joke there about ATO intelligence and call it an oxymoron. But that's where the intelligence capability comes in. Okay. I think that, I think one of the things that might have got me in trouble was that I always believe that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, Zach. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I've seen in this country, in Australia, is the opposite. It's a presumption of guilt until you prove yourself that you're innocent. And I think that when you talk about these things, if you cross swords with someone who's I guess, considers themselves to be some sort of law enforcement individual, mm-hmm. because the tax office, like the IRS, I mean, you're not... Well, in the US, I believe you carry weapons, and there are some law enforcement capabilities. But in Australia, it's not. It's an auditing organisation, and what's happened with the tax office in Australia, it moved over the years from an auditing organisation to appointing former law enforcement. I think Chris Jordan. Yeah, he's an ex-cop, and so anyway, there was this development of doing more surveillance, doing more profiling of taxpayers to see if they can make some more money, capture some more. So you're working on these various cases that might have some connection to terrorism, and I mean, you mentioned crossing swords with somebody. I mean, is that what happened? I mean, did you cross swords with somebody on a particular case, and then that made you start thinking about this in a little bit different way? So that was in intelligence. Okay. But so that finished though. So I've been talking about my role in as the manager of tactical intelligence, and then there was operational. Then when I crossed swords, they moved me out of that manager role into an operational, just to be an executive level operational intelligence. But what I'm talking to you today about is more from the when I moved into what's called an information disclosure authorized officer. So you might remember I said we've got a website. I did a website for this interview. Mm-hmm. And if you pull that up, maybe we could go into that, and that's where we can get into...
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right now. Let me do a screen share, and then you'll be able to see what's on my screen. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the website is australiabetraysamerica.com. I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the chat here, and you guys can go ahead and check that out yourself as well. But
words.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here?
So forward over to the next page, mm-hmm. and we'll go into my role specifically. So what we're going to get to ultimately is page 20, okay. Which is where I lay out the big claim. All right. So we say here, betrayal, the actions of betraying one's country, a group, or a person, treachery. Strong words, mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is what I've seen is exactly that, a betrayal by Australia of Americans and your government. Let's flick over to page 2. Now, see, what I found interesting or coincidental was, so DJT, see there on the left there on the 17th of June, 2015. Yep. Okay, so that that's when he announced, I think it was in New York, is that right? He announced.
Yes. Walk down the escalator. Yeah.
Right. Now, what happened with me on the 16th of June, 2015 in Sydney? That was my last day. Flick back to page 2. That was my last day. Right. 17th of June was when I started sick leave from the stress. I just had enough, and I went out. But why don't you? Do you want to read maybe that first paragraph?
So is this your position there? This
That's
authorized
my position. Yeah.
Okay, so for the Australian Taxation Office, so you would disclose protected information for the purpose of assisting active domestic and foreign investigations of serious crime and the surveillance of persons of interest because of their alleged connection to fraud, money laundering, espionage, terrorism, human trafficking, illegal drugs, illegal weapons, and other crimes pursuant to Schedule 1 by Australian state and federal law enforcement and Five Eyes intelligence agencies, pursuant to Division 850, transactions exempt from the application of taxation laws and relating to security or intelligence agency. So This is what you would do when you were working there at that office. So what was it that you saw there that gave you pause or made you start to think differently about all this?
Okay. When certain individuals started to be seen in the paper and online that were connected to, I can't say that. Let's just say there's a whole bunch of names and they were already persons of interest. They were persons of interest prior to the 17th of June, 2015.
Okay.
Right? They're prior. Now, if you duck down to that last paragraph, Zach, back on page 2.
Go ahead. I'm pulling it up for the audience right now. So.
Yeah. That'll help me a bit.
So.
Yeah, actually,
Go ahead.
I'll flip to it as well because I got it right. So you see here that part of the Act enables Five Eye agencies to also make a request to know information about certain individuals or persons of interest, right? Now, remembering that the persons of interest is about their connection or relationship to alleged crime or they're under surveillance. All right, so I can say that they're under surveillance. So what I'm saying is that, and we'll get to that because I'm covering this in a timeline in this website, Zach. So we say here that I released information to the federal police and state and territory police forces and to Australian Secret Intelligence Services, so that's ASIS, to the Australian Signals Directorate, ASD, to the Australian Secret Intelligence Organisation, that's ASIO, and the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organisation, the Director, and the Defence Intelligence Organisation. Now, these are all the Australian Five Eye agencies that are supposed to be allies with the US.
Okay.
And then you see the last part there is these requests to know information if the tax office has any information. These requests also pertain to the other Five Eyes agencies in the UK. So what I'm saying here is, including but not limited to, UK's MI6, UK's MI5, and GCHQ, and their SIS. All right.
So if you find information and you provide it to an Australian agency, any of these agencies, it's also accessible to these other UK Five Eyes agencies, and then I would assume the other Five Eyes countries as well?
Exactly.
Okay.
If they're look, I can't imagine that they would betray, and be using these this capability to not disclose that they were doing this to America. But certainly, the Five Eye agencies, if they are an alliance, then yes, they should have access to all the same information.
So at the time that you left, this is clearly just as President Trump is announcing his candidacy, before there's any publicly available information about the Spygate scandal. People may have assumed that the deep state was looking to harm President Trump or undermine our election integrity. But at that time, Spygate was not in the cultural lexicon. I mean, it wasn't anything that that you would have known about. So at the time that you left, had you seen any information that led you to believe that Five Eyes countries were looking to undermine the American election? Was Donald Trump or anyone that you knew of in his circle under investigation through these means?
Without mentioning any names, the answer to that question is yes.
Okay. All right. And was it known to you at that time, or is that something that you realized after you'd already left?
That's right. So, when I saw the request, the disclosure request with certain keywords. Actually, let's go over. Let's flick forward now to page, because I can answer that question with the
All right.
website.
I've got it pulled up here for the audience. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you.
Go to page. Let me go. Whoops. Oh, you pulled it up. Okay. Go forward. Flick to page 14. Keep going, and we'll jump ahead to 14. We'll go straight into.
This is a witness statement.
Actually, stop there. Yeah, stop there. Just pause there on this page. So, what had happened was during I guess the late part of 2016, certainly 2017. There's a whole bunch of names that are now in the media being sprawled across. I call it the legacy media, or what people often think is mainstream, and a whole bunch of names. And I'm sitting there. And I'm hearing these names and the scenarios, and I'm I'm getting really stressed out. I'm really stressed out because I had seen a bunch of stuff that indicates that there's been potential setups, there's been potential scapegoating, using certain individuals as scapegoats, and that it appeared to me then that, let's say, certain individuals were being potentially made to be a scapegoat to, and these Five Eye capabilities and let's say certain types of warrants used to try and camouflage a coup attempt, camouflage, try and legitimize, make it appear that certain investigations were legitimate when they weren't.
All right,
and that's
without speaking about something specifically, if you're unable to, can you give us an abstract example of a manner in which these types of investigations could potentially be used on a target? Let's say, as an example, if I am a former campaign aide to President Trump, I was, and let's just give that as an example. You know, so you're a former campaign aide, and you happen to see my name come over your desk. How could this be used? And I'm wondering, just because our favorite Anon, Q, has clearly said in the past that Five Eyes countries were helping with this setup. And I'm just wondering, you know, how it could be used to do so.
What the way it could be used is to know in advance who are key individuals that are looking to get into politics and looking to be a part of the 2016 US presidential election. And when you know those individuals, what you could do is you could connect them with other individuals whose names were also allege a plot, allege a let's say, oh look, this person's we're going to put them under surveillance because we think they might have connections to Russia, and they might be. We suspect that they might be getting access to let's say, emails and information that are actually confidential and relate to, and then actually belong to US officials. So
what information would these agencies actually have access to through the taxation office? Or would it be more than just financial documents?
Yeah, no, that's where there wouldn't be anything else in the agencies that come to the tax office pursuant to the act that I referred to. They just simply want to know: do you have any information? Okay. Do you actually have any information? Because it's sort of like trying to build a picture and collect.
All right.
And yeah.
Would this type of investigation give them an entryway for other types of investigations? Like, would they use like the idea of excess income as a way to kind of say, well, look, we found this extra money and they shouldn't have it, so we're going to go, look for additional stuff?
Yes, certainly that could be an angle. But when I read. When you read a submission from law enforcement or a surveillance agency to know if you've got any information about individuals or persons of interest, you can normally read enough detail. There should be enough detail where you go, yeah, look, this meets the threshold, and therefore we will provide the information if we find any. Okay, but. What I'm saying, Zach, is I read a couple that read like, man, that is just so high level. There's no way I could prove, or I'd have to see more evidence. But that is so high level, I got no idea really. But what I did is I did approve the release if there was any information. I did approve them.
Can you give us an example of, say, an above board request like that? Like you have a person
Sure.
who's suspected of terrorist ties, and therefore you get the request, and it looks like this. And then I want to know what the one that perhaps you were a little skeptical of might look like.
All I'll do is give you a garden variety law enforcement request, which would be individual A was pulled over by the police, and we found an envelope with, let's say, $15,000 cash and he had it hidden. The individual had it hidden under the seat. We believe it was proceeds of crime, which is an act which enables or empowers the police officer to confiscate anything that they believe is the proceeds of crime.
Yeah.
But in that example, just because a police officer suspects that something's the proceeds of crime, and then they also say, well, then, if I don't think there's enough detail in that, I'll call the police officer and I'll say, well, why do you suspect it's the proceeds of crime? Because if you haven't provided enough detail, so I'm not going to give you their information. And this actually happened, and the numbers were all different, and I'm not mentioning names,
sure,
or which police force it was. So the police officer said, well, yeah, we, as we said, well, actually, that police officer, I spoke to his colleague, and he said that we believed it was related to drugs. The person was selling drugs, and they had, let's say, what did I say, $15,000 in cash. So then what we did, they said, is we asked, well, can you prove that was in your bank? Or have you got a bank's, you get a little receipt from the ATM machine,
sure,
saying
sure,
what your account balance is. So I asked the police officer, well, did you have, did the individual provide that ATM slip. Yeah, they did. And it showed that the bank account balance was this, and this was the date. And I said, well, so they proved that it was in the bank. I said, did you find any drug paraphernalia or anything? Why do you think that this, I'm thinking, you're saying that it's the proceeds of crime, but he seems to be this individual answering your questions and things like this. And then you didn't find anything to do with drugs in the car. So I said, you're not having it. I didn't release the information. Mm-hmm. So okay. That was it. There's enough detail in the conversation. So, but let's, what I feel to do is to get back to your question, right? Is to go back to let's just go back to the information I sent to the DOJ and it'll answer the question.
All right, I'll show it to the audience.
Right, so let's go forward now. So we're saying, can I give you any sort of example about what might show us what was going on with the Trump campaign? Okay. Mm-hmm. So have a look here, page 14. So on the 8th of June, actually, can you go back to 13?
Sure.
And just one sec. 13, let's go there.
This looks
not
like
13. One sec. Here we go. Because I want to talk about John Brennan. Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to talk about John Brennan.
Okay.
And I'm gonna come up with some very interesting. Okay, go to page 12, Zach.
Okay.
Right.
There we go.
Because we've hopped over a very, very interesting thing that happened in Sydney in October 2015. Very interesting. Okay. So there you go. So 28th of May. Now what happened was, actually go back to page 11. Righto. So what had happened was, see the 21st of May there, highlighted in the pink box on page 11. So on the 21st of May, I advised the federal police of some things that I had seen in the Information Disclosure Unit, and I talked about Muslim Brotherhood. Mm-hmm. So see down there?
Yep.
I talked about Muslim Brotherhood, brainwashing, blackmail, honeypots, entrapment, computer hacking, ATO Information Disclosure Unit, corruption and leaking. And then also there was a previous submission I made to them in October 2015. And we'll come back to that again in a minute, which has some interesting sequence related to Brennan, right? And
right.
Sydney.
So yeah, this was Brennan's infamous visit to Australia to meet with the head of their intelligence, his counterpart, if you will.
Yeah, well, let's go back to it. So go back to page 10 and let's look at it. This is where things become
9, 10. Here we go.
Really much more specific.
Okay.
Actually, I'll just go to your view of it. Yeah. Actually, go to page 9. Go to page 9. Okay, here we go. So on the 6th of October, see the point number 1.
Yes.
All right. Point number 1. Now, I'd been out of that role on sick leave, and I was doing some Uber driving. Mm-hmm. Now, to pay some bills. Now, on the 6th of October, I had decided that even before, the election and all these sort of things that were going on in the States, there were some people and individuals that I had seen and met that were also that were information disclosure, persons of interest. They were in my requests from law enforcement, and I had met them. I've actually met them. Now
you just met them during the course of your daily life?
I met them outside of my work in the Information Disclosure Unit. I met them as an Uber driver. They were flatmates, and I met them in a nightclub.
Okay.
And we'll get to that.
All right.
Now, I had decided I was set up, and I was being made to be a scapegoat for a couple of things. So if you go back now,
Yeah.
so I decided that that there was a couple of information disclosures that I felt pressured to release that I didn't, because I didn't agree that it met the thresholds.
Okay.
So I reported three issues to the AFP. All right. And one of the issues was related to what I called unlawful disclosure of protected information, because I didn't believe that the thresholds were met. And I reported it on the 6th of October to the AFP. Now, prior to October, I would, part of my role was to produce witness statements and affidavits for the tax office that had the protected taxpayer information for people that were being charged for tax fraud and tax crime and things like this. So I would have to appear in court in criminal litigation for the for the tax office with the evidence, because I'm the authorized officer that's allowed to disclose it.
Of course, yeah.
And there was a couple of other colleagues, but that did the same thing. Well, there was at least one other. His name was Peter. Now, so I went into the federal police, and what had happened prior to October 2015, I had started to become very suspicious and stressed out about the things that were coming across my desk, and I knew that and had concluded that these particular individuals were being filtered to me, because there were three of us. There was myself, Peter, and Mark, and the three of us could randomly receive these requests, but I was getting very specific ones, and then I was also getting the ones that relate to, the US.
Okay.
So what I would do from time to time, I would just walk up to the AFP with my witness statement and meet the case officer and I would eyeball these people and find out just a little bit more about them and if I thought that there was something going on. And then sometimes they would come down to the tax office and they'd watch me witness the affidavit or the witness statement, and I'd hand them the information, and they would walk up 2 blocks up the road to the federal police. So because the federal police and my office in Sydney, they're 2 blocks away in the CBD. Okay. So what happened on the 6th of October, I then went out Uber driving, and then if you go to point number 2, you see the date there?
Yep.
10th. Now, I pick up this guy. We'll call him. What do we call him? We'll call him individual.
Unsub 1.
Unsub 1.
Yeah.
And he gets in my Uber, and we get chatting, and he's one of my information disclosure persons of interest, and he's described as, and I wasn't sure at the time when I met him, but he's described as Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
He's described as Muslim Brotherhood, and there's a bunch of other people on the disclosure request, very specific, and I can remember the sequence of the top 4 names and probably a couple others below. And they were accused of blackmailing an Australian politician. Okay. Now, I've gone over time, so I wasn't sure, but actually just quickly, and I'll go back, Zach, to that. And
now, you said that you were being funneled things specifically. I mean, do you think that they were trying to push these cases having to do with Muslim Brotherhood on you to associate you with them? Or to perhaps catch you in a trap and giving it information that you shouldn't?
There was. So let's go forward now to let's stick with Brennan. We'll stick with the Brennan. We'll come back to that.
John Brennan visited Australia on October 19th, so 9 days after your message that you sent here in regards to your Uber passenger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm saying is Uber is part of this thing in connection to Australia. Uber, right?
Okay.
Uber, and there's a couple of other individuals that were persons of interest that also came to me via Uber. And as I said, I had already released their information prior in 2015, early 2015. But go to point number 3. So you see the 13th of October, the federal police have responded to me. You see that?
Yes.
On the 13th. Then go to number 4, go to the date on the other side.
Yep. October 14th.
You can see what I did. The next day is I emailed the guy. So this guy, I got him to email me. Because I'm building a smartphone app, and I used to talk about my app to everyone.
Okay.
And he said, oh, look, if you need a pro forma or a template for an NDA, I know I've got one, I can send it to you.
Okay.
And I said, brilliant. So I've reminded him the next day after the federal police contacted me to send me that NDA that I could use, right?
Okay.
So then what happens is, if you go down to point number 5, all of a sudden Brennan reportedly is going to be coming to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now, I didn't do the Muslim Brotherhood sort of searching and connections with that until, I don't know, 2017 or something, or 2016, I think. But so I didn't know about any of Brennan's allegedly coming on the 19th of 2015. So let's go over to page until a year or two later. Go over to page 10. Then what happens is, so then this fella introduces me. How do I move that? Oh, there it is. Right. So things got interesting. I decided to keep up with the guy, and he seemed like a good guy, very smooth. So I said, look, I've got problems with the tax office. I want to get out of there, but I need some legal advice. And he goes, look, I got a guy. Why don't you come and meet him? And I went, okay. So I get an invitation around January 2016 to meet this guy, this Muslim Brotherhood guy. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure he was the exact guy. So I then get a meeting. I go and meet this lawyer at number 3 Macquarie Street in the Circular Quay, and he introduces me to this guy, and he says his name, and I shake his hand. I go, I remember your name as well. I'm thinking, what is going on here? I'm getting set up. There's now 2 people on the same information disclosure request that are linked to blackmailing the senior politician. So I think, so I go along with it, and they go, look, here's the fella, he can help you, give you some advice. So we're talking, and then out of the blue, they go, oh, look, we're thinking, and they mention another fella's name, and his name, who he was also on this same information disclosure request, and saying, look, we're thinking of starting a new Australian political party. Maybe you might be interested. Do you want to have a chat, meet some people, see how it goes? I went, yeah, sure.
So they wanted you to run for office?
Yeah, well, be a part of their party, potentially. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think so.
And, were you at all, concerned at the time that they might have ties to Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, what was your reasoning for continuing on with it if, knowing that they were already under surveillance?
See, that's the thing, Zach. I wasn't sure until he threatened me with a ISIS-style car bomb, right?
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, why did he threaten to blow your car up?
Right. So what had happened was, well, there's a Julian Assange thing here as well. But anyway, we'll come back to that maybe. So what had happened was, I've gone, this is all getting crazy. I've had this flatmate. I'm remembering names. They were my information disclosure requests. I met this girl in a nightclub. She was a honey trap. And I've gone, so that was that one. But what had happened was in around the middle of 2016, he said to me, let's go and have some dinner. So we had some dinner in Chinatown at the Golden Century, I think it is. And anyway, it's in my statement. And we get chatting, and I've gone, we're talking about the US election, and I said, look, I think Trump's going to win. and I think, it'd be really good. And he goes, no, Hillary will win. And I went, no, Trump's going to win. And he goes, no, Hillary will win. But he said it in a way like he knew.
He had some foreknowledge.
He had some reason he was very confident Hillary was going to win. And then I decided that he was exactly the same guy, this Muslim Brotherhood fella. So I said, these people running around cutting people's heads off in the name of Allah and this extreme Muslim thing. I said, look, the leaders of Islam have a responsibility to pull these people in, because they're supposed to be part of this together, whatever they're doing. But leadership, they have a responsibility. And he goes, don't agree. I went, no, I don't think that's right. I think, and we're looking at each other, and then he goes, I saw an ISIS video once. I went, okay. And we're sitting over dinner, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, so there was this teenage girl, and she walks up to some government spies. And they're in a car, and she walks up to the window, and they're absolutely, S-ing themselves. I'm like, okay. And she walks back towards the camera. She lifts up her the clothing, and she detonates the bomb and blows them up and kills it.
Okay.
And I said, oh, okay. If they were governments, I said, if they were worried about being blown up, why didn't they just get out and run? And he sort of looked at me, and he was really, I think he was a little bit bemused and ticked off, to say the least. All right. So I've worded that more precisely in a witness statement. I've sent it off. Okay. But, anyway, so he's now bringing up this stuff, this ISIS stuff. So I took him back, and anyway, so that was the ISIS and the Muslim Brotherhood threat. And then after then, I've gone, this is definitely the same guy. But let's go back to, did you have a question? You want to talk about?
So you came into contact with all of these various people,
yep.
And was this at this time? Were you already starting to think back, and were you being reminded of these people that were potentially involved in Spygate? Was that already something that you were aware of, and was it because of these strange coincidences taking place in your life that had to also do with the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes, so the answer is that definitely by around that time, I had realized that Muslim Brotherhood was a thing, and that when certain individuals, that American individuals that started to make but it would have been certainly early 2017, certain individuals have been named as connected. I've gone, these are all the same people, and they've been using the Five Eye Alliance to try and legitimize and camouflage this setting up of certain individuals.
All right, and can you name any of these people? I mean, is it possible for you to maybe point to some people that we may have heard their names before?
Well,
I mean, let's just let me put it like this. I mean, we already know that Alexander Downer was involved in attempting to set up George Papadopoulos.
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah, there we go.
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
Because actually, ask me, Zach, do I have a friend called Papadopoulos?
Do you have a friend called Papadopoulos?
I do.
Okay.
Ask me, George. Is his first name? Ask me, Zach. Is his first name George?
Is his first name George?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Ask me, Zach. Do I have a friend or friends called Simpson?
Do you have any friends named Simpson? Like perhaps a Glenn Simpson?
And ask me if their first name is Glenn.
Yeah. Is his first name Glenn?
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
Anyway, and then I've got another friend, Thompson, and yeah, asked me if his first name's Erica.
I don't know who that one is.
Yeah, no, I don't have a friend. So what had happened was, let's now go back to the website.
Yes.
So I start sending things. I sent something to the FBI, and go back to page 9.
They're not numbered, so I don't know.
Oh, you just click forward. Just
There.
click back a page. Okay.
This is 9. This is page 9.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, that's all right. So go back to 11. Go to 11. Let's see what's next.
This is the Uber passenger and the James Clapper making a visit to Australia in March of 2016.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. March of 2016. The internet's reporting that Clapper and both Comey are coming down to Australia.
That's right.
And actually,
that's right.
if you read that there, so US spy boss Clapper Jr. makes a secretive visit to Australia. So that was the 10th of March.
Mm-hmm.
Before flying to Australia, Clapper stopped over in New Zealand where he met Prime Minister John Key.
Mm-hmm.
And John Key seems to be saying, I've met General Clapper on a couple of occasions. He obviously got a great insight into intelligence and what's happening around the world. Then it goes on to say, US intelligence chief is believed to be traveling on board US military C-17. That's an interesting number.
Mm-hmm.
C-17 Globemaster to visit Australia. And then last week, the Australian Federal Police hosted Director of FBI Investigations, Comey, on a 2-day visit. So that would be, I guess, like the third.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the 16th. So we're saying the 9th.
In a matter of 6 months, we had Brennan, we had Comey, and we had Clapper all visiting Australia. And I know myself, I always assumed that was because of Australia's giving assistance in terms of setting up President Trump.
Well, it could be, but I think if you just look at the facts, they're certainly coming down, conducting intelligence, and talking about matters of a nature that relate to Five Eyes, to their capacities. All right. So let's go forward to 11.
So this is a letter from the Australian Federal Police. Is this you sending some type of a notification to them regarding what you felt you had witnessed?
Yeah. So this is a second one, and I've mentioned those terms on the bottom right.
Yep.
Now, what happened was around that time, that's when I decided to get in touch with the FBI and tell them, look, because I had seen in certain posts from our favorite anonymous individual that, they're cleaning up these agencies. And, if you see something, send something into the FBI. I think they made out there. So I sent something into the FBI along this line. And within about a few days to a week, I got a phone call from from Victoria. So Victoria is 03 is the area code.
Okay.
And so I got a phone call. I took the call, and the individual said they were from the Privacy Commission, and they said they work in a certain travel department of the Privacy Commission, and they were interested to know about my travel plans. So I think what's happened is the FBI have got in touch with the Privacy Commission, or let's say perhaps the baddies, because this one thing I haven't mentioned is my laptop had been hacked as well. So they were probably getting. That's another long story, but it was hacked, and I've got some evidence of that. So I decided after I had got this phone call from the so-called Privacy Commission that I couldn't trust the FBI because I had given them that information in good faith, and that they weren't acting on it, and they certainly didn't want to seem to talk to me about it. So then what I decided to do was I went directly to the Department of Justice, and that's when I started sending the DOJ information directly mentioning names and things. So let's go over to page 12.
Yep, and I'm there already.
So
and Lindsey Graham, too, as well.
Yeah, so, and notice here, so the 26th of May, so this is now like a week after. So it was the 26th of May. Bill Barr writes to Joe Hockey, okay? And actually, yeah. So I refer to President Trump's. Do you want to read that up?
You want the letter from Joe Hockey to Bill Barr?
Yeah, Joe, you read out Hockey's response to Bill Barr. Yeah.
So I refer to President Trump's announcement on May 24th that you will investigate the origins of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's probe into Russian links to the 2016 U.S. election. I note that the president referred to Australia, UK, Ukraine as potential stakeholders. Moreover, I note that he has declassified intelligence material to support your investigation. The Australian government will use its best endeavors to support your efforts in this matter, and while Australia's former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, the Honourable Alexander Downer, is no longer employed by the government, we stand ready to provide you with all relevant information to support your inquiries. And then Acting Chief of Staff Mulvaney has been copied on this letter.
Right. And then you go to 2nd October. Then Lindsey Graham writes also to Hockey, and he says that, Hockey says, thanks for your letter to the Prime Minister. So I can assure you that the Australian government is cooperating with Attorney Barr's inquiry. I note that we have been public about our willingness to cooperate, and we gave this undertaking on our own initiative. He's really verbalising here, but anyway, to the Attorney General in the attached letter of the 28th of May. In your letter, you made a mention of the role of the Australian diplomat. We reject your characterisation of his role. As you have requested, we will work closely with the Attorney General to resolve any misunderstandings. Okay. So what was happening in around that time? I'm starting to send more information to the DOJ, and I think that they're probably now thinking, who's this Aussie guy? Because I've sent notarized statements as well. All right. Who's this guy? So I think that what's happened is they've gone back to the federal government and said, look, we're getting this from this individual, and you're saying that no, that the things he said never happened, or the things he said he saw never happened. All right.
So is it your contention that this communication between the United States government and the Australian government coincides with your own notices to the DOJ or to the FBI to suggest that you knew something?
That's right.
Okay.
So that's right. So now let's go quickly now to
all right.
We'll forget about that.
And Brett,
so let's go to page 14.
Just so you know, the call-in portion of the show is about to start any moment. We've got two minutes until I'm going to be putting out the link. This looks like an email that has, these are map directions. Is that what you wanted? No, page 14. Page 14.
That was a threat. We'll do that another time.
Okay.
So here we go, 8th of June. So 8th of June, I'm like, Australia's got to be stonewalling. So I've written now to the Australian Attorney General and to Bill Barr and to Lindsey Graham. I've sent Lindsey the hard copy notarized statement. And if you go down there, first paragraph, I said, greetings. So I provide my witness statement of evidence in good faith that in part directly relate to AG Barr's investigation into alleged Russian government meddling in the November 2016 election of the President of the United States. Part of my statement has information about all right? And underneath all that black stuff is some very interesting things.
But
all right?
Things that you can't reveal?
Things that I can't reveal without potentially making it very... I can't.
All right. Okay. I understand. All right. So we're about to open up...
Let's finish... Oh, yeah, all right. Do you want to just go to page 20? I'll get some power. Okay. I got you. And I'll just make...
Okay, page 20.
Yeah.
So, aiding and abetting treason, the Australian government knowingly participated with the Obama administration, UK, Italy, to sabotage the Trump campaign and the Trump transition team for the purpose of regaining control of the U.S. and to overthrow its elected government by reversing or undoing the outcome of the 2016 U.S. presidential election if Hillary Clinton was not elected POTUS. And 2, accessory to the international conspiracy in order to avoid lying to POTUS and Americans about its role in the conspiracy to knowingly sabotage the 2016 U.S. presidential election of DJT. Australia has also suppressed evidence for the purpose of covering up its part in the international conspiracy to attack the sovereignty of the United States in its 2016 presidential election. I would have to agree with your characterization there. I think that I think it's obvious that that's happening. You know what I'm really interested to know is what is the connection between the setup with the Muslim Brotherhood and your, impending disclosures. Do you think it's possible that perhaps they inserted those people into your life so that they could maybe discredit you, or perhaps, you'd end up 6 feet underground and then you wouldn't be able to talk about the stuff that you had witnessed there in the office? Because if you were the only person getting the names of persons, A through Z, all having to, have something to do with Spygate, I mean, all they have to do is shut you up, and then they don't have to worry about anything coming out.
That's a very good observation. I think that the invitation to be getting involved in that new political party was a way to. It wasn't just entrapment, but there was a couple of things that happened that I think they were going to use to blackmail me with.
Okay.
And once they had me part of their little confab or whatever, they were going to present the blackmail material to me and make sure that I stuck in with their plan and their new party, and they would own me.
Yeah,
they would own me.
That's how they do it, yeah. All right, well, you guys, I've just entered the meeting ID and the passcode into the chat. I've also dropped the Zoom link, and I see that Wheezy Girl has put it together. And please, you guys, do call in with your questions. There's a lot of stuff that Brett obviously can't directly say because he would be in danger of breaching, what is it, the official secrets or something like that? Okay.
No, just the provisions that relate to non-disclosure.
Okay.
In the Tax Act.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring our first caller in. Quips, who is actually one of our Australian correspondents, was the first caller on the line, so we'll bring him in. Quips, you're on the line, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, what's on your mind? I mean, you have probably a unique perspective that is highly applicable to what we're talking about, as Brett is also from down under.
Oh yeah, well, I'm an Australian, so that's about it though. I'm not involved in any spooky endeavors whatsoever.
No, and this is the thing. It's like you think that I guess maybe it's my naivete. You think that just because somebody's from Australia, maybe they might know each other. I've got a couple other friends from Australia, and I've made the mistake before of being like, oh hey, I know this guy. Do you know them? And they're like, mate, the country's huge, and people are all over the place.
It's totally true though. We do know each other. Like me and Brett. Like I got in Brett's Uber like last week. No, but my comments were, look, I believe you, Brett. I believe all of this because I don't know, you're the tax man. But I think I don't have any specific. Well, maybe I have a specific question afterwards. But first, my note is, don't take this personally or the wrong way. But your delivery needs work. There's a lot of people confused in the chat. I can imagine, but I don't know. It's just, I think, a little bit more linearity to it. A little bit, you jump and skip from anecdote to anecdote quite a bit, and it makes it a little bit hard to follow, especially for the people who I think your information is going to be most aimed towards. Because my other comment is, as someone who's been, skitzing out and following Q for 3 years, there's not much new here for me, and I don't mean that as a dig. It's just an observation. What you do have here seems to be an amazing whistleblower's perspective that can draw in outsiders and normies and people that haven't, been looking into this for the past 3 years.
Absolutely.
But for that, I think, your delivery needs to be a little bit more linear, a little bit more of a narrative. Get people.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I put up the website, Quips. Yeah. And I think what I'm trying to do is point out that the information that I'm talking about specifically relates to early 2015. Now, as far as I know, what's in the public domain, there isn't much that points to Australia's role pre-17th of June 2015. It all seems to be 2016, So we're trying to find out what's the genesis or the starting point, what's ground zero for Australia's potential role in the sabotaging or spying on the Trump campaign. And I'm saying that I'm an eyewitness to that.
Yeah, the thing that strikes me is obviously this is well before the official Crossfire Hurricane investigation, but we just learned in the last week or two that John Brennan was already running a task force out of Langley looking into this stuff. So it's very, very possible that the information requests were being run directly through that Brennan outfit and then going into the Five Eyes through Australia to get the information. But Quips, I completely understand your constructive criticism. This is Brett's first time being anywhere live or telling his story.
I was actually going to reach out. I'll add you on Twitter and I'll send you some DMs or something because I don't know. Have you got people behind you? Have you got a support network as far as people that know how to do YouTube and video and memes and getting a message across? Have you got a PR team or anything?
This is kickoff. I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I might have a community you might be interested in, Brett. So I'll get in touch. But good luck. Good luck. Stay safe. And I hope everything turns out well for you, dude.
Thanks, Quips. Good on you, buddy.
No worries.
Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling in.
No worries, Zach. Talk to you soon.
Peace. All right, good stuff. Okay, so he is gone. Let's go ahead and bring in our... Actually, before I bring in our next caller, I need to go through a couple of quick thank yous from the audience. Let's see. So, need to say thank you to Dana Finkler, and we'll talk about everything off air, Dana. ZooQ, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Also, Our Cloaked Unseen World sent me a donation last night after the show ended, so I didn't get a chance to say that during the show. And I believe we've also got thank you to Scott. Scott said, great show last night, and so far again tonight, RP. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Then we've also got something that I'm not supposed to read live. Okay, I'll go ahead and send me an email, redpill78@protonmail.com, and we'll talk about that. And then I have another one that they do not want me to read. No problem. And let's see. I'll go ahead and read that later. And then another one that I'm not supposed to read. Okay, awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions that you want to send me that I can read on the air, please feel free. And I've seen multiple people in the chat asking if my signal sucks or if it's YouTube. It's clearly YouTube. Obviously, last night with the subject matter of the show, the anniversary, the whole night, everything was intermittent. The signal was not going out well. On my end, I am broadcasting in full 1080 at 60 frames a second, and the information is going out to YouTube. If you're experiencing problems, it's the manner in which YouTube is delivering it to you. I know that if you were to hit pause and maybe, scoot back a minute or two, that'll give the time for the buffering, and then it will be easier to watch live, basically. Or you can turn down the quality on your browser. It should go to inside the YouTube player. Just go ahead and click the settings, and then you can change the quality down a little bit. All right, let's go ahead, and we're going to take Andrew. Andrew is coming on in. Okay, and I appreciate everybody being here. We've got 2,400 people here, and I guess there's a POTUS rally going on right now, so those are pretty good numbers for a rally. Andrew, what's going on, my friend?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't actually think I'd get through. Yeah, been a long-term fan of you, Red Pill. I'm
Thank
actually calling in from New Zealand.
Perfect.
So I sound a bit different. Good to meet you, Brett.
G'day, Andrew. Good to meet you.
Yeah. G'day, mate. Yeah, so I guess one of the things I'm interested in is do you guys research into this secret space force, and will you guys want to discuss that much more? Space Force stuff. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You wanted to know our perspective on Space Force?
Yeah, so I guess you know, that kind of information when it comes to the secret Space Force, the hidden black ops kind of stuff when it comes to the Space Force. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Brett, you want to go first? I mean, I've talked about it a little bit on the show, but it's been a while, so I'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, I have heard DJT talk about the emergence of the US Space Force, and it's a new agency connected to US military. That's about all I want to say about it at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, so are you saying that there's other stuff you can't say?
Well, look, I don't have any direct communication with US military about any of that, but I don't want to seem to be saying anything that might make me look like a kook.
Okay.
Although I can
understand that.
I do believe that. Look, I've seen a couple of funny things recently. You might have a look on my Twitter. Did you see that, Andrew?
I didn't actually see that, but I can go now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there was some sort of UFO or something funny, and I recorded it and I put it on Twitter. I thought that was. But that's about it. Zach, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I've often thought that there clearly is some type of like black budget secret space program. I think there's probably a couple of different types of secret space programs. You know, we've got the Patriots, and then we've got, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, the leftovers from World War II that infiltrated our government during Project Paperclip. And then there's probably like a whole other subset of people that were based down in Antarctica. So there's probably multiple secret space programs that are in existence. And when I heard President Trump announce the Space Force, I thought that this was going to be his opportunity to disclose that information to the public. You know, I think that we are clearly much farther ahead than what is, you know, publicly announced. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if very, very quickly they made incredible advances in what is possible, you know, what they released to the country, you know, and this is maybe within 6 months of me starting making videos. There were patent applications and schematics that were released by the Navy. And those were for what I would call like the classic TR-3B, the Delta-shaped craft. And now watch, somebody's going to screen cap that. The Delta-shaped craft, and that would, you know, I mean, people see those all the time, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense if it is a covert black budget, you know, spacecraft that we have in our possession. And of course, they haven't officially announced it yet, but I mean, they did announce it with the release of those documents, and then also the patent applications for like a gravity warp drive. So I would not be surprised at all if they make those, you know, that stuff public, and then we end up having people go to Mars in short order, or much farther away even. What do you think?
Personally, I'm kind of very much on board with what both you guys are saying. I've been researching into that kind of field, and I feel like this is a topic that I want to explore a lot more and talk about a lot more once we have greater disclosure about the actual crimes against humanity, because all of it to me is bundled into one. It's all actually has like layers, and that's one of the, I guess, encompassing layers that we're all subjugated to this world where we don't realize how many things like slavery and um, uh, grabbing people and trading them off world if
Yep.
necessary, and all kinds of things that I guess the public isn't quite ready for, because it's such a paradigm shift, such a kind of like, whoa, we need to get the first steps done. Like, yes, there's pedophiles everywhere. Yes, there's lots of like satanic stuff going on everywhere.
Right.
We need to get that stuff out of the way. Then people can be like, what else can I like handle now?
Right.
Because
What
otherwise
can
it'll
I
just be
find
like,
out that I've
oh.
been lied to about, you know?
Yeah, might be way too much for some people. It might actually cause the biggest thing is that at the religious people, it would probably fracture the religious people too far and cause too much disruption in short order. We need to kind of like stepping stones into that point. Yeah.
Sure. I think for some people it would be a total, a mind blower, basically. I mean, in my opinion, the possibility of life that we don't know about does not invalidate my faith and God to me. Some people that does. They think that if it's anything other than how we believe it to be, then perhaps that's going to invalidate God or our idea of how the universe works. But I think that all throughout history, as people have made advancements and their knowledge has expanded, I think that our faith has kind of consistently been tested. I mean, if we were to take technology that we have today, say back to the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, it would be indistinguishable from magic, and people might think that we were somehow evil or coming to destroy their concept of God.
I like Mark Taylor actually talks about this a little bit, because another guest I love on your show. I think happening is that if we do have that dig that shows up, there is some kind of archaeological reference that we haven't got the full biblical texts, then maybe there'll be references to that in there, which he talks about. There's going to be some kind of event surrounding an archaeological dig that will cause people to leave the church, and he wants people to be caught after leaving the church back into Christianity, back into true, I guess, those churches that aren't good anymore. We're going to try and push them towards the good churches, or the good people, the good faith. And I think part of that might be actually realizing that it's not just us. So if that can happen, it'll be a great like turning point for humanity. And I think so that kind of discovery we need to go through. It needs to happen. All this needs to happen eventually, but
yeah,
how
absolutely.
and when, I don't know.
I mean, I just want to know the truth of what is this world that we live in. If there are other dimensions of existence, if there are other planets where there's life. I mean, there's so much that we just don't know. And so I like to keep my mind open to the possibilities, and because I mean, I have learned so much throughout my life, and I think that if everybody's honest with themselves, it's the same for everybody. So let's go ahead and let's keep learning. That's all I want to do.
Hey Andrew, what's been going on just briefly with New Zealand? And the lockdowns? What's happening?
So we've been recently going through a second lockdown period, which is not as hardcore as the first. We had like level 4, level 3 lockdown. What that means is that they shut down lots of transportation. They didn't allow a lot of people to go out and do regular things like go to bars or anything like that. Now we have semi-lockdown, not really. Everyone can travel more freely, but we still pretty much businesses all over the place. If you do with tourism or hospitality, they've been crashing, they've been dying. I've been having people, I'm a business person myself, run my own business. I got people just losing their business left, right, and center. It's not good for it in the economic wise.
What about international travel? Are New Zealand?
We're still locked down. We're pretty much locked down. I think you'll have to get very, very special allowances to get out. And pretty much, if you're a normal person, not a chance getting out. And coming in is pretty much similar situation. So we're very much an isolated country right now. Everything is very regulated inwards and outwards and international. Yeah,
it's not good. It's the same in Australia. That I think there's a few reasons. If it's for work, they'll let you go, but you've got to have a letter. I can't remember. There was another couple of exclusions that were permitted, but there's something going on. It's a bit of a scam. It's turned into a scam.
Yeah, it
I
hasn't.
frankly think it's sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to ask about the rates down in New Zealand. I mean, it's been pretty low,
Really low
right?
rates.
Yeah,
Really low rates. So the rates have been super low. We've had like the amount of people who actually get infected to actually die is like less than 1%.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who even get infected is like super low. Like of the whole population, it's again like less than 1%. It's kind of insane the level we're going to, because it's freaking a lot of people out. And to me, it's a lot about causing the people to rely on the government, see the government as their like mother or father figure, and they have to go to them for everything, or get allowances. Can I go out at night, kind of thing. It's getting to the point where also we need their money because our businesses are crashing and dying. Everything is becoming more like we have to need the government, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that that's the end result. I mean, they want to usher in socialism broad scale, and if they can force everybody to become dependent on the government for every aspect of their lives, I mean, it's the fastest way that they can possibly do it. I mean, clearly with the existential threat of Donald Trump in the United States breaking off of that global agenda, I mean, it's started to seep into a lot of other countries. I think a lot of other countries are seeing what's happening in the United States, and they are believing that they can go ahead and accomplish that same thing. And, their overlords, the rulers in each of these countries, they have to put the brakes on in big time. And I think they see the beer bug as their opportunity to do that. Right?
That's right. And you look at in the 1918 influenza pandemic, now that was a genuine pandemic, I guess by normal measures. The number of deaths was estimated to be at least 50 million. 50 million. Now, we haven't seen anywhere near that. Now, that's a proper, really nasty pandemic. How many people have died from COVID-19 or 7, whatever it is?
A couple
How many
hundred
people
thousand,
have
apparently.
100K. Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, if you want to talk like, brass tacks, 9,200 here in the United States. I mean, that have expired from that alone. So far less than the common flu, far less than cold. Less than pneumonia. Just about less than anything else that you could possibly hold it up against. Yeah. All right. Well, Andrew, any other thoughts on that?
Probably not right now, because there's probably other people want to talk, but I'm sure I will call in another time. I love your show, and carry on the amazing work you do. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Cheers.
Right.
Bye.
Have a good night. All right, sweet. I need to say thank you to Aaron. Aaron Moriarty said you rock, buddy. Thank you, Aaron. Why aren't you on the phone, Aaron? I was expecting you to call in. And then Richard on PayPal. Thank you very much, Richard. I appreciate that. Let's bring in Sweeta. Sweeta is our only caller on the line, you guys. So if anybody wants to call in and ask any question at all, then you can go ahead and do that. We're bringing Sweeta onto the line. Yes. James Jones says 9,200 worldwide. Was that number worldwide, or was that only in the United States? I wasn't certain if it was just based in the United States, but I mean, it would make sense if that's worldwide. Sweeta, what's going on tonight?
Yeah, hi, Redfield. Nothing much. I'm good. The thing is, Brett, I am also a person of interest in India, actually. And there are a lot of people in the surveillance watch list in India and in Australia as well. And a lot of these people are not even part of any, terrorist organization or anything. But they've been put in these watch lists. Now, in my case, for example, they won't let me talk about the spy camera operation. And then they just insist that she's just doubting. And then, they expect me to react based on, their expectations. Now, I react based on my mood, not based on how someone expects me to react. Now, another thing that happens, with the, persons of interest, and we call ourselves the targeted individuals, they actually come up with a lot of honey traps, like the ones you mentioned. But the thing is, the person that you mentioned that you met from the Muslim Brotherhood, it's possible that he was a genuine, a person of interest. A lot of persons of interest now suppose he was from the Muslim Brotherhood, he would know others also who are part of that organization and therefore be in touch with them. And it could be a coincidence that since you met one of them, you ended up meeting a lot more.
Sure. The interesting thing about this fellow was he may have actually been a triple agent. So what I mean by a triple agent was he was known as an Australian agent to the Australian government, and he was actually a double agent for Muslim Brotherhood. But ultimately, I believe it's possible he was really reporting to the Communist Chinese Party.
Oh, why is it you think he was reporting to the Chinese?
There's a couple of things that I can't mention, but there's something going on in Melbourne right now, in Victoria, in Australia, that is heavily linked to Communist Chinese Party.
I've seen stories about China sending, I guess, people to Australia. I guess they emigrate, they get naturalized, and then they were running for office or they were running businesses, and they were still reporting as agents.
Yeah, I think that yes, Sweeter, is it Sweeter? Yeah, that may actually be the same. He could be the same fella that George Papadopoulos got a visit from after I revealed his name to the Australian government. If you go back to that website, we didn't get through it because of my disjointed presentation. But yeah, you'll see George talked about Simona getting a visit from an Australian spy, and he's pretending to be texting George. I think it's page, I don't know what page it is.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, it's on maybe 13, is it? Go back. Because it was 5 days after I reported to oh no, here we go. It's going to be, there it is, page 15.
Ah, yes.
So what happens, Sweeter was on the 8th of June 2020. I've reported this fella for a second time, actually, I think, to Australian, well, to those people up in the top of the letter. And then about 5 days later, George gets a visit, and he says an Australian agent was speaking to my wife. Now, do I know if that's the guy? Obviously I don't. But the timing in some of this stuff is beyond interesting.
Absolutely. All right, Sweeta, any other thoughts?
Yeah. Now my YouTube likes get passed around because I'm a targeting drill, and all my online activity gets surveilled as such. Sure. Did you happen to watch, Matt Ophelia's YouTube video on QAnon, Red Pill?
Not yet. I last night I had some personal stuff to do, and then today I was running errands, and then I got the show ready. So I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
So generally, if you are among one of the people who get notifications of my YouTube likes, I made it more easier for you to have, access to that video.
Okay.
He was being very open-minded about QAnon, for being, he's a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Bernie Sanders supporter and, being so open-minded about QAnon, it was actually quite refreshing to watch.
Yeah.
Tim Pool, he's also a centrist Democrat.
Yeah.
But he's planning on voting for Trump this time because of, all the riots and everything that the far left is doing.
Yep, I saw that.
But Tim Pool is strongly against, he doesn't believe in QAnon, and he's very skeptical, just like with Jason Burmis. Mm-hmm. But Matt Ophelia, he was being very open-minded about QAnon.
All right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to watching it for sure.
Yeah. If once you bring in Matt Ophelia, even if Tim Pool hears from, about QAnon from a sensible YouTube content creator and not some random, crazy QAnon fan, who comments on his channel, I think even he would, start keenly watching, keenly observing the Q posts with the curiosity and, not dismissing it as, silly or something.
Yeah.
The same thing with Jason Burmis and Robbie Martin. I would still insist, even though Jason Burmis is, strongly against. I request you to probably after you're done with Matt Ophelia, who's being so open-minded, if you have a pleasant experience with him, maybe even call Jason Burmis and Robbie Martin for a change of mind QAnon session.
Okay.
And as a target individual, I'll again request if you could interview Roger Tolsis sometime.
Yes.
He actually runs a private investigation firm in America.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to working with target individuals, he has this video on the Patriot Act on YouTube, a seminar which he'd given many years ago, and he was actually mentioning, in his long career as a private detective and a bug sweeper, he's actually worked with people in the mafia and people in the drug industry and people in the porn industry and all sorts of dangerous characters and all sorts of very funny experiences interacting with those characters in those industries.
Sweet. Yeah. I'm
have
still.
a lot of interesting stories to come out of him. Apart from his interactions with various target individuals and other things. So I would again request you to bring on Roger Tolsis sometime and interview him.
I'm still planning on reaching out to him. I'm booked all the way through October, so just if you don't see him until later on this year, then don't worry. I'm still planning on reaching out to him.
I think up to until the election happens, I think it would be more useful to get Matt Ophelia and Jason Burmis with the QAnon Chain Mind session.
All right. Well, I'll see what I can do. Well, sweet.
That's a request from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Bye-bye. Yeah. All right. So we have had. Go ahead.
I just remembered that I've started a GoFundMe to do some litigation and get the information disclosure requests and the names released legally through litigation. So I'm just while you do your thing, I'll get the.
Yeah, email it to me and then I can share it. Now, just so that people are clear, is it possible you're mentioning litigation to get this this information released to the public? I mean, is that something that you can do yourself, or I mean, is it I mean, how much legal action would it take? I mean, is it the same as filing a FOIA request here in the United States?
So yeah, it's a FOIA request. Freedom of Information request, but I don't know if the tax office will release it or Five Eye agencies or requesting agencies will release the information.
Okay.
But certainly in litigation, if we go to the federal court, then it would have to be brought up. Okay, it'd have to be. So initially, though, I'm trying to raise 100K. But I can't type and get that at the same talk at the same time.
Okay,
but,
that's fine. No problem.
So the idea is, because I did back in Sydney, I met with a lawyer. I met with a couple of lawyers, and because I've written a draft statement of claim, and I've outlined everything, and they're like, well, it would take X amount of money. I mean, one lawyer wanted 50K just to do a proper investigation, and I'll no doubt do some information, some FOIA requests as well.
All right.
But,
well, we've got Aaron on the line. Aaron, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Red, how you doing?
I'm all right. Good to see you.
And hello to your guest. I know you can't talk about much, but maybe you could talk about that fiction book you're writing. Yeah.
There you go.
Similar characters.
Any ideas for a film or a novel that you might be able to speak on, Brent?
Oh, the fiction book. Oh, yeah. Look, what about... look, I'm still really nervous about what I can and can't say. Let's say that, there's a lot of metaphors and... a lot of things. Look, I don't know. You got me on the hop there. You got me. That's a really good question. But yeah, a fiction book. Look, I think at the moment I'm still waiting to get, if I do get something concrete back from the DOJ, because I don't want to do anything that might interfere with Durham's investigation. Or so if I was to maybe write a fiction book about it and talk about it, that I don't know the consequences, Well,
what about your UFO? Maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, that was interesting. So what happened there was a few weeks ago, on the way to work, there was a UFO. There was some sort of UFO, and I filmed it on my smartphone and put it up on Twitter. So I guess we could maybe find the footage. Yeah, didn't look like that one.
Okay.
No, it was a bit different, buddy. But maybe, Zach, are you able to pull up the screen grab of the Twitter? And,
from George Papadopoulos? Or
no, from me. My what do you call it? The tweet thread. You can see I published.
Oh, so go to your Twitter. Okay.
Yeah, go to my Twitter and see this UFO, something really weird.
Was it daylight or nighttime, or what did it look like?
So what happened it was about 5 o'clock. It was 5 minutes to 6 in the morning, due west, and it was some sort of amber light shaped like a V. It was hidden in and out of the clouds, and so I just filmed it. Now it couldn't have been the moon because the moon was behind me, and if you have a look at the photo, the footage, then it seems to vanish. But it was really odd. Anyway, so I just filmed it and put it up on Twitter. So I don't know what it was.
How far back am I supposed to go here?
Is it? It should be 2 weeks ago.
2
about
weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago.
Okay. All right. Oh, there it is. Let me turn it up, and actually, I'll share screen so that you guys can see it too. Let's go ahead. There we go.
Yeah, that's the really Zach. I'm going to send you a screen grab of What's your email again?
Redpill78@protonmail.com.
So here is actually the best.
What's
You can screen grab. What's going on there? The dogs.
Muffin Gate 2?
All right. Well, the video's on. It's sideways, and so it's difficult to make anything out.
I'm such a knucklehead at all this stuff. As I said, I'm a bit of a virgin.
No problem.
But I don't know.
That's cool. Now,
what else can I say?
I know, Red Pill, you were talking about Space Force coming out with some of this stuff. And I've been waiting since I was a boy, because when they had the moon rover, one of the times when they had the moon rover, and I watched this religiously because I was a kid and I wanted to vacation on the moon when I was 30. Didn't happen. And the rover was going on the far side of the moon. And they said, this is the first time man has ever been on the far side of the moon. There'll be a brief disconnect, then we'll reconnect and show you the first pictures of the far side of the moon. The side of the moon we can never see. I waited and waited and waited and waited. It never happened.
They never released them?
Still waiting. Still waiting.
I feel like I just recently saw maybe satellite footage from the far side of the moon, or maybe just a still image. But, obviously there's all kinds of, stories about what is on the far side of the moon, and obviously why they don't show us what it looks like. Could be all kinds of stuff.
Well, the one thing that intrigues me is that 3-mile-long derelict spacecraft on the far side of the moon that was photographed during Apollo 16. And Apollo 20 is the alleged secret mission, I believe in 1976, that went to the moon with William Rutledge, a very famous cosmonaut, and his girlfriend, a black woman who actually died on the mission. She was the first woman on the moon, and I think the first woman to die on the moon.
Wow.
And they brought back the body of an alien female in a triangle-shaped craft.
I remember seeing stuff about this, yeah.
Mona Lisa, they called her, and very incredible story. And so basically, Bush Jr. had a party at the White House for everyone who'd been on the moon. Well, William Rutledge was living in, I think, Rwanda at the time. I think he still does. And he was upset that he wasn't invited. So he released all this footage that he took with his own camera on that mission. And
can we see it, Zach, on the internet?
Well, I have to find it, but
Apollo 20.
Yeah. So wait a second, because this is one of the arguments for why it's unsubstantiated, is because it's just some footage that somebody had released. But you're saying that it was actually released by one of the astronauts that was on the mission.
Yes.
Well, that changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, and he was elderly, he didn't have any family left, and he didn't care, but he was really upset that he wasn't invited to the White House because his mission is still considered classified.
Mm-hmm.
And the body of Mona Lisa, strangely, they said it wasn't alive, but it wasn't dead.
Like in stasis?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Aaron, I sent Zach the still of to your Red Pill email, Zach. The photo of the thing that I saw. Did you get that email yet?
I'm just opening it right now. Yeah. All right, so I'm pulling that up on screen. That should be on everybody's screen, but you guys are not going to be able to see it. But so what we're looking at here is that's definitely not the moon. That is what appears to be a triangle-shaped bright light. How far away from you was that, Brett?
It was about 10 k's due west, near an island called Rottnest, which is a tourist destination in Perth. Anyway, it was very weird. I happened to take a video of it. I got a better video that I can reorientate. But anyway, when we're talking about those, that was my experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very interesting.
Just with this stuff, I think sometimes, we're talking about Five Eyes and Spygate, and I completely respect everyone's who has interest in UFOs, and I find it very interesting as well. But I just didn't want to do anything that might, because if this obviously will be available to the public,
mm-hmm.
and they might think, oh look, those guys, all they were interested in is UFOs, and they're just a bunch of kooks, that doesn't get you any credibility with mainstream media.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of,
Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan saw UFOs, so you're in good company.
It's very true.
Thanks,
It's very true.
I saw three of them on two different events. Two of them became one. And on that occasion, I actually had a witness, but very interesting.
Yeah, that was a good story. I remember that one. All right. Well, Aaron, we've got 4 more people on the line and about 15 minutes left. So thank you for calling, dude. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Meet you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good idea.
All right.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Great. Let's see. So I believe that this caller was next. All right, caller, you're on the air. Can I get a name? Caller with the phone number ending 5543. Are you there?
Can you hear me now? This is Our Cloaked Unseen World.
Yep, I can hear you. I don't know. What did you just say? This is Arcade Fencing World?
No, Our Cloaked Unseen World.
Oh, Our Cloaked Unseen World. Good to hear from you, buddy. So what's going on? What's your question or your comment?
Well, first I got the link. I'm going to drop it with spaces in there for the Apollo 20 true story you guys were just talking about. I'm going to drop the link. You'll have to copy paste and fix the HTTPS and the www in it.
Okay, I can do that.
Into the chat. And then also I want to talk about something I found. I found an article, old Tesla article recently. It's called the longitudinal wave, and there's an image of a Tesla tower in there, a schematic image. And when you match that image next to a water tower schematic image, they're identical. And there's also a quote from Nikola Tesla that talks about digging a hole 120 feet down into the ground. And then that's also in the article. But here's the thing, the article also ends, the web address of the article ends in a Q.
Okay.
So basically I pretty much when you look at the stuff and then you look at when was the tower blown up, And then when was the most famous tower in the United States put up? Both towers look identical. So they blow up one. There's their legend. There's their icon. They blow up the one icon, and they erect it as a water tower, disguise it as a water tower, and put out the free energy all across the United States, disguised as a water tower.
Yep.
And when you look at the evidence that I show, I just made a new video about it. The video has got a good intro, but the evidence, I show the evidence at about 19 minutes and 30 seconds. If you want to skip over, I go over some other stuff on how to change the way your energy is throughout your body, by the way you think, with things you say,
sure,
think, and do, they all affect your force energy that goes around you. So the more you doubt, the more negative energy will be around you. But basically, I teach in the video, to wrap it up, and at the beginning, first 15 minutes, I explain, going over a few quotes. I'm going over the Nikola Tesla prophecy quotes that I listed, that I sent you.
Yeah.
I made a video about it. So I'm going over every quote in the video, explaining what he meant, my interpretation of what he was saying in the quotes. So, and then at the end, I teach how to deal with the troll. And it's a pretty good ending. So
awesome.
I'd watch the beginning, the ending. If you want to cut out the meat and look at the article that I show, I also show another article that I found that about his technology that shows that it's possible he might still be alive today because of some of his other technology.
Really?
Of how to keep the skin healthy and young, and that kind of stuff.
How awesome would that be if Nikola Tesla was secretly alive, living in Los Alamos or something?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be. Then he's got a lot of quotes that are kind of point you in that direction too.
All right, sweet. Well, I look forward to checking out the video and the information you present.
Yeah, I sent you the link in the message that you didn't read the.
Oh no! I can't pull. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I thought you meant like you sent me one in my email. I on YouTube, because on mobile I don't have any way to pull those links out of there, which sucks. And that's why.
Talking about Cash App when you read my message earlier.
Yeah, I don't have any way to pull it out of Cash App either. Like, I mean, I just see it and it just shows it. Yeah, so for breaking news ends, that was I just wasn't sure exactly what I was supposed to read there because it's got the website in there.
Just go to my channel, and that's the last video I released for the Nikola Tesla prophecies.
All right, I will pull it up. The 1 hour and 25 minutes, that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but the three of them, a lot of it's there's a 8-minute music at the end that I let play. So the 8 minutes wiped out. I start off with the JFK speech that killed him, that got him killed, and then the beginning of intro is Guns N' Roses, first 90 seconds of their song Civil War.
Right on.
And then I start on other stuff. It's a really good intro.
All right. Well, I'll be watching it, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
He said the meat is at about 19 and a half minutes.
19 and a half. Okay, awesome. I'll let you know what I think.
All right.
I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everybody else to see too, okay?
All right.
All right, cool. Take it easy.
Yep.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Okay, let me give you guys that link, and you can check that out. This is the link to the video on our Cloaked Unseen Worlds channel right there. Okay. And let's see. We've got... caller, you're on the air. Can I get your name?
Yeah, Stephen.
Stephen, thank you so much for calling. What's your question or comment?
So what I'm bringing up is that, I've been a huge supporter of President Trump and everything going on, but has anyone else lost faith in the fact that a single attorney is the only one being brought forth so far publicly? I mean, we're talking about 1,500 criminal indictments, and it's constantly dangling the carrot, constantly dangling the dollar over us, saying almost. And when do we finally say enough is enough?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that I personally haven't lost faith. I think that Kevin Kleinsmith is obviously just the first of many that's going to be coming. But I mean, as I've said many times before, I mean, I'm not in the DOJ. I mean, I'm not a U.S. attorney. I'm not Durham. And if they haven't brought the indictments out publicly yet, then that to me can only mean that it's not time. They have to have these cases perfectly wrapped up. I mean, John Brennan was just finally interviewed by Durham, and as frustrating as that is for many people, there's ways that they have to go about it. And although I would love for these indictments to come before everything else, in regards to the election, I mean,
can I jump in there, Zach, as
yeah,
well?
go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry. What's this gentleman's name?
Was it Stephen?
Stephen.
Yeah.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephen. So this is a very, very, very important issue. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but you have to show intent, and showing intent beyond a reasonable doubt is not necessarily the easiest thing. So this, as you can appreciate, the DOJ has to have a watertight case, right? Rock solid case. And because there are so many moving parts to this, we've got potentially treason, we've got Five Eye abuse, we've got we've got foreign intelligence surveillance court abuse, we've got multi nations involved, all connected to this, and it seems that the information required to show intent and to know when this all started has not been freely released by the governments that seem to be stonewalling. And one of the reasons is you don't want to be making an allegation and then find out that the evidence you relied upon was inaccurate or wasn't good. So this is being done really carefully, really, really carefully.
Yeah, I mean,
although
we can look at this as armchair observers and say, well, clearly, there were laws that were broken. Clearly, this was their intent. All of it has to be proven in a court of law. And if they go and, put this stuff out there too early, then perhaps evidence is gonna be invalidated. Perhaps evidence is going to be destroyed. But I mean, taking us back to the idea of what the NSA
it already has been destroyed by the Mueller investigation.
Well, just because their phones were destroyed, or just because they wiped their phones, do you honestly believe that the NSA doesn't maintain that data? I mean, they are constantly sucking up all of that data on a daily basis. So I think about it like this. They wouldn't have announced that publicly, that the Mueller team had so just obviously destroyed all of their phones and tried to wipe their data, unless there was no reason to keep it quiet anymore. I mean, when that kind of information is made public.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that they've known that for a long time, and I think they acted on that a long time ago, and I think they have secured that data that was on those phones. I mean, there's no possible world where they are unable to retrieve that data from those phones. I think that we already have it, and it's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, it has to be done on the timeline that is necessary in order to make the best possible case, because we only get one shot at this. Muffin, what is your problem? Hold on. Brett, you have any other perspectives on that?
Yeah, just that I think a lot of people that are trying to be patient, just hang in there. Hang in there. Third of February.
Definitely trying.
Yeah. All right. Well, Stephen, I mean, I hope that, by watching the show that we can go ahead and help you keep the faith. I mean, this is something
I'm a huge listener, but I watch every day, just about. I watch Occam's Razor. I watch everything, just about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can totally feel you. I mean, and I'm not saying there haven't been times where I was like, I'm just feeling fatigued. Lately especially, I have been feeling especially fatigued. But I also think that, everything that I've stated publicly previously, it still stands. I mean, even though I have my moments, I have to maybe take a step back. I got to think about it. I got to look at the whole picture. And, it's tough. When you look at the country, you see they're tearing the country apart. You hear a story like Andrew Weissman entered his password 10 times. Okay, that's just freaking ridiculous. Okay, you do it like 3 times in a row, and then it makes you put your phone down for like 5 minutes, and then you got to pick it up, and then you do it another 3 times. No, it's obvious. It's obvious this that these people are trying to cover up the tracks of their crimes, but in the same way, I think it's so obvious that Durham and these other federal agencies have the evidence, and it will be used against them.
Yeah, he deliberately.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Passcode wrong 10 times deliberately.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Well, Stephen, keep the faith, brother. Keep calling in, and I really I appreciate you watching, man.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, have a good one, you guys.
You too.
All
Peace.
right, bye.
Good stuff. Yeah, totally understand where Stephen's coming from. We've got our last caller here, Starbeam 1. Coming in with Starbeam 1. Starbeam, waiting for that microphone to get connected. Yeah, patience is a virtue. You're right. It is difficult. I mean, it's not easy to stay patient throughout all of this. And, you guys, just at the heart of it, I truly believe that President Trump has got this wrapped up. He's in charge as much as he's got all these people working against him. This was a huge, well-oiled machine, okay? And it was oiled in favor of the cabal and the deep state. Just think about how much has to be undone, okay? And all of the moving parts that come together to make sure that happens. It's no small feat. Starbeam, we're not getting a microphone from you. So let's see. Somebody said drop the link. Give us the link. Which link? I don't know. Don't know which one you're talking about. Well, we're coming to the close of the show, Brett. So why don't you give us any final thoughts that you might have? I don't know that Starbeam's going to make it on.
Did I sent you a screen grab in the Zoom chat? Can you see that screenshot? Or just go to play. Yeah, in the Zoom chat, I sent you a screen grab.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm downloading it right now.
Okay, and so there is the crux of the things I wanted to get to. All right.
So still coming.
Is it all right? You just go to you can go back to the website and just go to page. Crikeys. There it is. Just go to page 17 on the website. So on page 17, you'll see that they're all the information disclosures. They're the people that relate to the genesis, the timing of the genesis, I believe, of Spygate.
Okay. And what are the... So you say here, before June 17th, 2015, the following people and entities were identified by law enforcement and Five Eyes persons of interest in various information disclosure requests. So there are 38 names, 38. Various people. And, so obviously you can't tell us who these people are, but I mean...
Go over to page 18. Just before we we've finished the 2 hours, go over to page 18.
Okay. Yep, we're here.
And just read that out, Zach. Point 15.
The following terms and entities were identified in the various information disclosure requests referred to above. So you've got 12 names here. Is it possible that these names are people involved in the Spygate scandal?
Well, it's possible they're operation names.
The names of operations. So like Crossfire
Operation,
Hurricane. Okay.
And page 17 were the persons of interest.
Okay.
18 is not. Yeah.
So 38 individuals and 12 references to various operations.
And about 10 of the 38 relate to Trump.
President Trump. Okay, awesome. Well, Starbeam, it looks like you're on the line. Can we get your question here? We're right at the end. Starbeam?
Hello?
Hi. Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. I was this first time I signed up on Zoom. I didn't mean to call in.
Oh, you didn't mean to call in. Well, since you're here, do you have a question that you'd like to ask?
Oh, no, I don't. I just really enjoy your show. I don't have any question right now. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad
you get around all the glitches. So
I'm glad we got it to work. Feel free to call in at any time in the future.
Great. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, Brett, what do you want to leave the audience with? We're here at the end of the program.
Look, I just wanted to tell as much of the truth as I can without breaching my privacy commitment and a secrecy commitment to Australia. I think that I hope that the US DOJ maybe watch this and Secretary of State, because I've sent them links, and that they consider the timing related with the information that I've sent, because it's a lot closer to the genesis or the origins, I believe, than what's already out there. And
all right.
Why were they under surveillance in the first place? Because therein lies the potential hoax. It could have been for spurious and illegitimate reasons. That's what I'm suggesting.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if these names are who I think they are, I mean, the only direct connection between all of them is that they were somehow related to President Trump and this attempt to take him out, both before he was in office and then after he was already in. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the possibility of having these names released to the public, because that would certainly, I think, put everybody's bristles on end. I mean, there's no reason that before President Trump was even in office that these names would be looked at unless it was for political reasons.
You knew that they knew that these persons of interest, and then they had to maneuver them into the positions of being on the Trump campaign, maneuver them and get them to be part of the transition team.
Yep.
And dirty them up prior to those dates with some of these spurious allegations of Russia collusion and things.
Absolutely.
It was just a very elaborate, very elaborate. And who knew what and when did they know it? Well, they knew back in June of 2015. They knew back in June 2015.
Brennan certainly did. All right. Well, Brett, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you to the chat for hanging out with us. Thank you to everybody who called in. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody who participated in supporting the show. And don't miss tomorrow at 7 p.m. Comfy Sunday with myself and Methods. We're going to be interviewing Andrew Torba from Gab.com. All right, you guys. Good luck and God bless. We'll talk to you